Good morning and a warm welcome to you all. I am Akshita, your host for today. Our topic for today is disability etiquette and awareness, which shall be taken by Ms. Sangeeta Jagitani. She shall be covering the topics such as experiencing disability, attitudes toward the disability, people's first language, myths versus facts, carried on with the question and answer section. Let's quickly go to our agenda. Virtual inauguration by Dr. Sindha Kataria, invoking the blessings of deity, that is chanting of Gayatri Mantra. Introduction of the speaker, presentation by Ms. Sangeeta Jagdani, followed up with a question and answer section, and last, the closing section. Brief introduction of Dr. Sindha Kataria. Dr. Sindha Kataria is the chairman and the managing director of ICS Group Company. Sadgun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Siddha Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professional on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. His designation is Chairman and the Managing Director of International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualifications are Mechanical Engineer from AMIE, Honorary Doctorate from Business Management. His experiences are Nuclear RATP. He started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawat Bhatta, that is in Kota, Rajasthan. Oil and gas, EIL. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. DNV. He was head of industries and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. ICS. He is the founder of First India's confirmatory assessment and inspection body known as an International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of total quality solutions under a single umbrella with wide spectrum of services. Achievements and awards are Lifetime Achievement Award of NAC Corcon, received several national and international awards. Now I request Dr. Sindha Kataria to virtually inaugurate the session.
आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Please join us for the recitation of Gayatri Mantra. A brief introduction of the keynote speaker. Ms. Sangeeta Jagtani. Her designation and organizations are founder and the director of Sanidhanam Residential Home and Vocational Center. Her academic qualifications are Registered Professional Special Educator, Rehabilitation Register number A02457, Diploma in the Education of the Physically Handicapped from the Mumbai University, India, Masters of Commerce from Mumbai University, India. Her area of specialization and experiences are Professor in Special Education, Mumbai University, Director of ADAPT, Special and Inclusive Education, former Director ADAPT, Asia Pacific Community Initiative in Inclusion Courses, former member of Special Education Committee, Maharashtra State Board, Pune. Her awards and achievements are CSR Project Monitoring and Reporting, Differential Curriculum, Researches, Inclusive Education in the Process, National study of Asia-Pacific participants of community initiatives and inclusions. Please welcome Ms. Sangeeta Jagtani. Over to you, ma'am. I request everyone to switch on their cameras. A few minutes. It will be an interactive section with Ms. Sangeeta. So she wants everyone to be online and switch on their cameras. I request everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll just wait for a couple of minutes till I have everybody on screen. Just to recap, apart from the credentials that have been introduced about me, I have been working in the field of special education and working with people with disabilities for the past 30 plus years. But before I start with a formal presentation, I would like you all to experience disability. Because disability does not need sympathy. Disability needs empathy. And for you to understand empathy is only when you will experience it. So, do I have maximum cameras on? I want you all to get a paper and a pencil. Because I'm going to take you back to school. I'm going to take you all back to school. Once you all are there with a paper pencil, just give me some signals, so I will start off.
I request most of you all to please put on your cameras. So there's a quick 10-minute or a 5-minute exercise. If you all can please participate, would appreciate. So everyone, Raju, Ajay Bandari, I'd request everyone to please put on your cameras. 5 minutes exercise.
Because it is something that will show on your face. It's an exercise that will reflect. I will be able to see your reactions. And you can share your experience later, but on the spot, I want to see your reactions.
You can go ahead, ma'am. Just take a pen and paper handy, everyone.
Okay. So all of you now, I want you to write your name with your dominant hand. So if you're a right-hander, use your right hand. If you're a left-hander, use your left hand. You just write your name on that paper.
Beg your pardon, ma'am?
Write your name on the paper with your dominant hand. So if you're a right-hander, use your right hand. If you're a left-hander, use your left hand. Just write your name. Done?
Yes.
Now use your other hand and write your name. Write your name with your non-dominant hand. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Now close your eyes and write your name with your right hand, with your dominant hand. Eyes closed. Close your eyes and write your name with your right hand. Eyes closed, don't cheat. Repeat, eyes closed, use your non-dominant hand and write your name. Eyes closed, non-dominant hand, write your name. What is the difference that you see on paper? What is the difference that you see on paper?
It looks as if I've just scribbled.
Yes, sorry, I missed that.
I said it looks as if I've just scribbled.
No, somebody said something, right?
Yeah.
What was the difference? I think your mics are off. Everybody has their mics off. What was the difference that you experienced? What did you see on paper?
Three different signature. All three different.
Looks like I scribbled, Anchal. Anybody else? Was not correctly written. Okay. So somebody feels it looks like scribbling. Somebody feels that it was not correctly written. But did you put in less effort, more effort, or same effort?
More effort.
More effort.
Much more.
Much more effort. And in return, what do you get from your teacher? You put in much more effort, and what does your teacher do? Make you write 100 times.
Give me a big zero.
Give you a big zero. Make you write that 100 times without understanding that the handwriting is not bad. When you see a bad handwriting, it means there is an issue that needs to be catered to. Making you write 100 times is not going to correct your handwriting. That is the first sign of hidden learning disability. Because this learning disability is not visible. Your scribbled handwriting will show that. And you also have to understand that the child has put in double the effort. So if you're going to get negative comments, negative punishment in it, he's not going to get motivated to study at all. Another quick exercise. I'm going to say out words, and you will start writing. As I say, keep writing. Are we ready to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Camera, screen, laptop, CPU, desk, wall, modem, box, chair, table, fan, boy, girl, lady, laptops, covers, phones, mouse. Stop and tell me what all you wrote.
Yes. So I wrote camera, screen, laptop, modem, table, boys, girls, ladies, laptop, cover, mobile. And I missed at least 10 of them.
So you missed some. You got 10 of them. Anybody got more than 10? How many did you get?
I got itself 6. Desk, fan, boy, girl.
I
got
12.
12.
You got something.
I got 12.
You got 12, not that. Very good. Okay, now I want your pens down. I want your pens down. And I'm going to say, you're going to remember and you're going to write. So no cheating, pens down. This is the last exercise, paper pencil exercise. Okay? So you got the box, alphabets, keys, mouse, pad, wires, spoken, laptops, covers, pen drives, sheets. Right. So this time I'm not going to ask you how many you wrote, but what did you understand from this exercise? Was the problem the student or was the problem the teacher?
So what I understand is two things. One, the teacher's too fast, so you have to go slow and easy. And second is, if you have a disorder in writing, then automatically even your other sensories will get affected, because if you can't transcript it to write, then obviously your auditory skills won't convert with the same pace.
Yes.
So probably it's all interlinked.
And also that every child's capacity is different. I got here somebody sitting here who wrote only 3 words, somebody wrote 10, somebody wrote 12. So every child has a different learning capacity, retention capacity, and again translating from auditory to written format. So every child has a different learning style. Every child has a different, it's auditory, visual, and tactile, kinesthetic learning. We are born, if I am a student, I have these styles of learning. I could be, like I could say for myself, I'm a better auditory learner and a visual learner. I need both. Some may be just auditory, some may be just visual. Now, if I am a learner, today I'm sitting in the capacity of a teacher, but the minute I go on the other side as a student, I cannot change my learning styles. So the teacher has to use the teaching methods which will match the learning style of the child. Because I, as a teacher, can change my modalities, but the student cannot. So I just wanted to sensitize you about, it's not that the child is not putting in good effort, because this child is also going to become an adult and may be working with you next to you. He may have his limitations. So you need to be sensitive, you need to be empathetic to people with disabilities. Whether they're children or adults, you need to experience, you need to understand what they're feeling. You can put your cameras off right now. I'm going to begin with the presentation. Thank you all for participating in this. So it's Enable, which is a sensitization program, which I'm going to run you through it. So all of you can just go through this. Before we go on to this slide, I would want to explain to you. I would like to know if any of you have any idea of what is the definition of learning disability and what is the definition of slow learner. Anybody? Okay. So learning disability means a child has got, an individual has got normal IQ. It may talk about learning disability. It has the word disability. So it is generally misinterpreted. But learning disability does not mean lower average IQ. Slow learners are children who have got borderline IQs where they don't fall under intellectual disability category and they don't fall under normal IQ category. So slow learner has got restricted IQs. But a learning disabled child or an adult has got normal IQ. A person who can't hear can use a telephone. This is a myth. A person with partial hearing can hear a telephone. But if he is completely, totally hearing impaired, 100% lost, then he cannot hear a telephone. A disability can be contagious. No, a disability is a disability going to stay with you for life. It is not a disease. A person who has cerebral palsy always has intellectual disability. This is also not true because a person with cerebral palsy, 60% of them are of normal intelligence and normal IQs. There are 40% who fall in the category where there is physical disability due to cerebral palsy as well as intellectual disability. It varies from person to person. A person on a wheelchair cannot play basketball. Now, this in today's day and age is not true at all. I'm sure you must have seen the Special Olympics that are happening and people with disabilities are participating in all athletics. A person who is blind cannot read. Yes, he cannot read the text that we read, but they do read text which is in braille. And plus, if there is partial blindness, then they can read even a normal text which needs to be enlarged and color-coded. A person with intellectual disability cannot get a job. This also is not true. A person with intellectual disability cannot get a job like you and me do, maybe. But they can definitely do any job which is monotonous type. Like Xeroxing. It's a monotonous activity. Printing. It's a monotonous activity. Step 1, 2, 3, and it's done. So these are the kind of jobs that they can be trained on. A person who has a disability cannot live alone. That will vary from disability to disability. Some can, some cannot. So it cannot be generalized. And a person with disability cannot vote. This also depends on the kind of disability. If the person has cerebral palsy and is intellectually completely capable, then he can take a decision and vote. Just general information, the illiterate of 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. The best example of this is when we all get married. We learn certain rituals, certain systems in our own houses. When we get married, there are a new set of things that we learn because we get into a partnership with somebody. It does not mean that we learned was correct and what somebody else is telling us is wrong. It's just a different way. So you have to learn what you've learned. You have to unlearn and relearn to take things forward together. So a person who's not able to learn, unlearn, and relearn will be the new illiterate of the 21st century. Understanding disability. Point number 1, disability can be caused by accident, trauma, genetics, or a disease. So us saying that Oh, I don't need to know about disability because there's nobody disabled in my house. There may not be anybody disabled in your house today. Tomorrow there could be. There could be a disabled person in your house tomorrow because disability can be caused by accident, trauma, genetics, or a disease. Disability can be temporary or permanent. You have a fracture, it's a temporary disease. You have paralysis, it could become a permanent. Disability can be visible or invisible. Visible is we all know what's visible. Invisible is what you all just experienced. Limited memory, not able to recall, having a learning, bad handwriting could be because of your learning disability. So these are all invisible disabilities. Could be partial or total. Can be present from birth, congenital, or acquired during a course of time. Like sometimes you have jaundice and you have high fever and your brain gets, some cells in your brain get damaged and that area will get impacted. There are various types and degrees: mild disability, moderate, severe, profound. The degrees in every disability, whether it is cerebral palsy or mental retardation, any disability, there is always these types and degrees. And it could also be multiple disability. Cerebral palsy is a classic example of multiple disability. When you have one particular person who may not be able to walk, not be able to write, may be able to see big alphabets and only, maybe not be able to read, but can understand everything that is being told to him. So they've got multiple disabilities. So you have to keep all these in mind when you're interacting with a person with disability. So just briefly a list of types of disabilities that I'm sure you all are aware of. So I'm not going to read them, I'm just moving forward. This is again classification of disabilities. From these, leprosy is curable now, cerebral palsy is for life, dwarfism is for life, muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy is a degenerative disorder. If you know of somebody who has got muscular dystrophy, you know that the age span is going to be not more than 25 and the person is only going to deteriorate by the day. Acid attack is again permanent. Blindness is permanent. Low vision is something that can be worked on with aids and the people can be able to see. Deafness, they have to use sign language to move forward. Hearing aids don't work. Hard of hearing, hearing aids will work. Speech and language disabilities, when they can hear, but they cannot communicate using speech. Intellectual disability and autism. Now, autism comes here under intellectual disability, but we have a lot of children with autism who are called high functioning, which means intellectually they are on par, but because they're not able to communicate, it reflects as if they are intellectually disabled. But it's a reflection as a result of their non-communication. So if you give them an alternate method to communicate, you will be surprised at the level of intelligence that they will show. Mental illness, of course, is schizophrenia and bipolar disorders, which need a psychiatric and rehab intervention. Disabilities can be caused through multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's disease. These are the neurological conditions. Blood disorders, of course, are these, but they do not really create that kind of a disabling condition. And of course, there are multiple disabilities, like I already mentioned. There are people who have got combination of 4 or 5 disabilities, which generally is seen in case of cerebral palsy, mainly. Attitudes towards PWD. PWD is a term used for people with disabilities is often based on misinformation and assumptions. Because you don't know, you assume, and that leads to all the misconceptions. The main barriers, all those ugly wrinkles, and they have the nerve to talk about worth and talent. All depends on perception. Are you seeing a cute little pug there? Or are you seeing a dog who has so many wrinkles? What are you seeing? Preconceived notions. I'm worried if children with disability get into schools, my child's future will be doomed. How? How is your child's future going to get doomed by a child with disability coming into your school? I would say your child is going to become a much better human being because he'll be sensitive to the needs of children with needs. And when he grows into an adult, he will be able to handle his parents and grandparents with empathy when they encounter elderly disabilities. So child is going to be a sensitive, empathetic young adult. So how is he going to get doomed? How do we become disability confident? Suspending or using the correct language? People's first language. People's first language means you must have heard me through the session. I have not used the word disabled people. I have always been saying people with disabilities because it's their people first and disability comes in later. It's like me saying the boy in the purple kurta in this office. And boy with the purple kurta in the office has got a name. I need to use the name. The purple kurta is not your identity. Similarly, disability is not your identity. I can say Deepa has cerebral palsy, but she is Deepa first. Cerebral palsy next. So people first language. Just a list of terms to be avoided and the terms that can be replaced. Suffers from. Now, if you are disabled, that is a way of your life and it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Maybe till you're 60, 70, 80, till the end of your life. So how are you suffering? You can say a person who is living with a chronic health condition. Suffering comes when there is an end to it. I am suffering from malaria. I will take medicine and I will get all right. I am suffering from asthma. I will take medicine and I can improve myself. But with disability, it's not the same. You have to use a wheelchair, use your crutches, use whatever aids or appliances and get going with life. If you're going to be like this for the rest of your life, you're definitely not suffering. And if you're suffering, then you can't get anywhere. The word suffer is wrong. Avoid using jargons like cerebral palsy has become CP or spastic. And I worked for 30 years with ADAPT and our salaries used to get credited to a bank at Corporation Bank and we had our bank accounts there. So the minute we walked into the bank and asked for our account, they would say, oh, spastic account kholo. So the account became spastic. Which means the word spastic was used so loosely. And that needs to stop and we need to use more respectable words like person with cerebral palsy or he has spastic muscles, which means the muscles are very stiff. Spasticity means stiffness of muscles. And that's again because of some neurological damage in the brain. Mute and dumb. Which one would you use? We generally say hearing impaired. He is deaf and dumb. Dumb is a colloquial language, a casual language. We use the word dumb even for people who don't understand. Are you dumb? Don't we all say that? But that's not true. People who are hearing impaired are not dumb. They are muted. They cannot speak. So it's person with speech impairment or he is non-verbal. He cannot speak through words, but he can write and show you. He can point and show you. He can communicate by sign language. He is non-verbal. In no way is he dumb. Is crazy, nuts, or insane. He has got mental health conditions. Is confined to a wheelchair bound. How can it be wheelchair bound? It's because of the wheelchair that he's able to move around. If he was on a normal chair, he would not be able to go anywhere. That is when he would become chair bound. When he's on a wheelchair, he's a wheelchair user or he uses a wheelchair because wheelchair is his form of mobility. Retarded, mentally retarded, mongoloid. We have got intellectual challenges, cognitive delays. That will indicate that yes, he is cognitively not on par with the others. But he's definitely not retarded because every human being is capable of doing something. Dwarf, midget, people with a short structure. There is nothing else wrong with them. They are just shorter than the norm. There are some other again languages that we need to avoid. Your handicapped parking, like I said, spastic account. So parking has become handicapped. It's actually accessible parking. Crippled, lame, birth defect, epileptic, special, disabled. And these are a whole set of things that you can use. The presentation is with your office. If you want to refer to it, you can. I think this is the kind of printout that would help. These two slides, the printout of everybody can get. So just keep it at the back of your mind of how do you address when you meet a person with disabilities anywhere in your life. Always put the person before the disability. It's important to realize that disability is not the only identity of a disabled person. For example, blindness is a part of a blind person, but not the only thing. He may be a wonderful teacher, entrepreneur, singer, or a corporate person. It's important to say she needs help in studies instead of saying he's slow in study. He has epilepsy instead of saying he's epileptic. Use the term person with disability. Disability means that an individual is limited to one's ability to do an activity because of a handicap imposed upon them. So let me ask you a question. If a person on a wheelchair wants to come to your office, can he? No?
No, ma'am. He cannot come on his own. We'll have to carry him to the office.
So if you were on a wheelchair, would you like being carried up?
No, not at all.
So then that means who is disabled? Who is making him disabled? The society or his condition.
Absolutely, the society. We do not, even in infrastructure, it is not in our DNA to think about that community by itself.
Absolutely. So it is, he is disabled, but what is disabling him much more is the society, is the architectural barriers. Had those not been there, if there were structural changes everywhere, which I think, Sumit, I think the entire ICS staff should come. Have they all come for the inauguration?
Yeah, most of them have come, but that time all areas are not accessible. So now, if they pay a visit, they'll realize that each and every room, each and everything is
Yes,
accessible.
so I think all of you should come there because that is an ideal place that will make you understand what we mean by accessibility. That from the entry point to the exit point to wherever a person needs to go, everything, whether it is Sanidhanam or Suryansh, every place is accessible. There is nowhere that a person with disability cannot go. And that will make the person feel more able than making him feel disabled. Look at the cartoon there. Don't read the text. Look at the cartoon there. We have a rhino, we have a mouse, we have a crocodile, we have a monkey, we have an elephant, we have a lion, a butterfly, a snake. And everybody is supposed to take the same test. Can they? No, they can't. Because each one has their own strength and their own weaknesses. So disability is about acknowledging each one's strength and each one's weaknesses and taking forward the strengths by ignoring the weaknesses. So it is what the person can do. What the person cannot do is very visible. Oh, he's on a wheelchair, he cannot walk. Oh, he's using crutches, he cannot run. I can see that. You can see that. Find out what he can do. Find out his strength and take that strength forward. Don't assume they cannot play a game with you because they have a disability. You don't make a decision for them. They say nothing about the disabled without the disabled. Ask them. Maybe they need some modification. Like if you come to Sanidhanam, you'll see we have a basketball and we have 3 heights of the basketball. So the person on a wheelchair is throwing a ball, the basket is brought down. When a person is standing and throwing a basketball, the basket is taken higher. It's just that simple modification of changing the height of the basketball, of the basket, and everybody can play. It's changing the mindset. It's changing the attitude. It's changing the thought process. All people are unique. And it's not about disability. In this picture that you see, there are people with disabilities and people without disabilities. Tell me who's without. Can you see this picture and tell me who is without disability here? Because with disability, you can see. Who all are without disability here? You can't make out. You cannot make out. It's my own presentation and I'm also still searching. So here we have Deepshika Mathur, who's a PhD without disability. She has a son with learning challenges who's an engineer today. We have a course coordinator here without disability. Next to her, another candidate again who's without disability. Here we have the secretary without disability, support staff without disability. But it's difficult when you all work together looking at people as people. Neenu, who's an influencer, the social media influencer. So you need to see at the strengths. Even if she's using a wheelchair, she's still an influencer. She's been giving sessions on a number of TED Talks. And if there is another session, I would like to invite Neenu to speak to take a session with all of you. But hearing, this is me talking as a professional, but hearing a person with disability address you will change your perceptions further. Ninu has gone all over India by road on wheels and on her wheels. All over India. A barrier is something that makes it difficult or impossible for a PWD to do or accomplish a deed. Consider the barrier that makes it difficult for people to participate, seek solution for the same. For example, if you were asked to reach the 8th floor when there was no staircase or elevator, how frustrating, right? Something so simple is made impossible due to lack of infrastructure. Barriers like this exist all around people with disabilities. And that's what we need to change. We can't change them. They're using wheelchair. They're going to use wheelchair for the rest of their life. The change has to come from the society. People with disabilities need a lot of assistive devices. Like you can see some of them here. From crutches to wheelchairs to voice synthesizers, just to help them complete their task. This one here is a simple grip on your pencil. Sometimes you find it difficult to hold a thin pencil, but if you give it a broader grip, your handwriting will improve. Because maybe your fine motor is not good. To have a pincer grip. So you just need to broaden it. It's as simple as that to improve your handwriting. And these are now freely available in the markets. Hearing aids, of course, but keep in mind that when you are giving hearing aid theory to anybody, you have to give concentrated, regular speech therapy because it's very difficult for anybody to get used to a hearing aid. It amplifies all the sounds. And then to perceive the correct sound becomes a little challenging. These are a set of voice synthesizers and print machines that people use to communicate, especially cerebral palsy, because their speech is not clear. So they type a few alphabets and gives you the correct spelling and it voices out what you need to say. And when you're giving these aids, don't take away the aids until the person is not using them. So we can't say that we're giving you a pencil gripper for 2 months or for 3 months or 1 year. When he doesn't need the gripper, he'll automatically remove it and start picking up a regular pencil. So you can't decide for him when he needs to use a pencil and when he doesn't. It's like, would you like someone blindfold you without your permission? No. So how can you take away my aid without my permission? Again, nothing about the disabled without the disabled. Nothing without their permission. Okay, we have again here a very strong group of people with disabilities who are influencers who've gone around the city trying to bring about architectural changes. They are all a part of an organization called Trineni, whose job is to create awareness, standardization in malls, in theaters, in restaurants, so that people with disabilities can enter in and have a meal with their friends with dignity. They can still enter, you can carry them in with their wheelchair, but that is not being included with dignity. Always put yourself there. Would you like to be carried in? No. So what you don't like, don't expect somebody else to like, and don't do it. Treat people with disabilities as you yourself would like to treat. Dignity, respect, common sense are very important. Remember the basic fundamental of how you would treat a person should be applied to everyone you meet. Disability cannot change that. You will speak with the same respect to everyone. And the first point I already explained, wheelchair is not restrictive. It's people who use wheelchairs are not wheelchair bound, they're wheelchair users. All persons with hearing impairment can lip read. No. All persons with hearing impairment cannot do lip reading. People who are blind have a sixth sense. They don't have a sixth sense. They just, because they're not using their sight, their other senses are sharper because they're depending on their other senses much more because they cannot see. So I'm depending on my tactile senses. I'm depending on what I'm hearing, which direction the sound is coming from. So obviously my other senses become sharper. So my hearing is sharper, my tactile is sharper, but it's not sixth sense. People with disabilities lead a monotonous life. Oh yes, people with disabilities do lead a monotonous life, but why? Let me put this question to you. I don't know how many of you are still on, but why do you think people with disabilities lead a monotonous life? Anybody? People with disabilities are leading a monotonous life is because they do not have enough opportunities. The society is not welcoming. The architectural barriers still exist. They're not able to go, they're not able to explore, they're not able to reach, and they do not get the support from the society. Hence, they end up leading a monotonous life, which we, with the correct support and a change of attitude in the general public, can help them lead a creative and satisfying life. And people with disabilities always need help. That's also not true. That depends on disability to disability. You can't generalize that people with disabilities need help. We're sharing some of the pictures that we had. ADAPT had held a beauty contest for women using wheelchairs. And you can again see Ninu is who's the influencer I was talking about, was crowned as a beauty queen. This inclusive education, being in class with everybody, not segregating you because of your disability into an aligned or a separate classroom. Being together, studying together, moving forward together. Like I said, don't look at what the person cannot do. Look at what the person can do. So we do not need to teach people with disabilities and differences. It's the similarities between people with and without disabilities that can be promoted. To focus on what the person is able to do, not what the person is not able to. Moving back here, like I said today, I am sitting here and presenting. Next could be possible that we'll have Neenu Kelwani, who is the influencer and the beauty queen of the wheelchair contest, should probably be one of your speakers. So look at the similarities. I can present, she can present. I can share my thoughts, so can she. I don't have the experience of traveling all over India on a wheelchair, but she does. So look at the similarities. Don't look at disability, don't look at the differences. Who you are, however you are, wherever you are, you belong, you add value, and you are important. Each individual is important. And there's something that you learn from everybody. Because no one is perfect. Neither you, nor me, nor them. So accept yourself, love yourself, and keep moving forward. With that, I come to the end of my session. I think we'll open it to if there are any questions on this.
So if there are any
Anybody,
questions, sorry,
please
please go ahead.
unmute yourself and ask the questions to ma'am. She's ready to answer each and every questions that everyone has.
Yes, so you could put your question in the chat box also. Chalo. So since people are looking at questions, let me put a question to the people. With your permission, ma'am, should I?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. So how many people you can, and I don't expect you to put on your mics, you can just write in the chat box. So there are two theories which are available. One is inclusive education. Sangeeta ma'am just showed you all one thing about inclusive education. So how many people believe inclusive education is practical and hona chahiye, while you believe ki inclusive education may make their weaknesses sound even more, so they should be amongst themselves? How many people, which opinion do you think is right? Option A, inclusive education. Option 2 is, people in their own, so you race in your own league. How many people feel inclusive education? Okay, Naeem says it should be inclusive. Okay, others, I need everyone. It's a quick vote. It's a very simple thing. And I've already explained ki why. If I'm good at a shot put, I'll participate in shot put. Inclusive education, Ramajendra inclusive, very nice. Akshata inclusive. Inclusive, okay. So how many, now most of you all have said inclusive, fair. So how many of you all have, obviously all of you all have graduated in school. How many of you all had in a class any special, any child with certain issues like this? Did anyone have in their own school or class? And if you could, tell us what was the problem? Akshata says yes. So Akshata, please unmute and let us know what was the child, what was the problem? Kya tha?
Sir, that person was not able, she was not actually able to grab that things which was being made understand in the class.
Okay.
She was bit slow for everything.
Okay,
I
fair
think.
enough. So Akshata, as an example, he was a little slow learner. So I'll come to Sangeeta ma'am with such
Yeah,
things.
I was going to ask, so what was done for that child? If the
Correct,
class
correct.
was-
So I'll
was
before
he
I
put as
get
a
there,
backbencher?
exactly. So before we get there, let us understand some more examples. Anyone else? So in 54, okay,
ADHD.
Ramachandra says experience AD. Okay, ADHD
ADHD,
class.
attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Perfect, perfect. So he was right through, or did he drop off, or he went through with you in graduation, Rama? Because ADHD is pretty normal and sometimes goes absolutely unnoticed.
How do you know? I mean, just to understand, what was his ADHD trait? What makes you say he was ADHD?
That student is so hyperactive that even when there is a class discussion or even the teacher is teaching, he's so active that he wanted to catch the attention of everybody.
Can you type? I can't hear.
Rama,
Yes.
you'll have to type. I think you're traveling, so there's a lot of air sound with your voice.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Sorry for that. I'll just
Oh,
chat.
Rama, you'll need to type. We are not able to hear you. Okay. So anyone else other than ADHD has experienced some physical disability, someone with a physical disorder, someone in class? Because that's the most common thing we see. Remaining, I think, go unnoticed, but this is something that you see. Anyone? Okay. Okay. Anyone who has a disorder in the family or in the relative immediate? Okay. So let's come back to Akshata Didi. She said that someone had a learning disorder. So what is it that is being done or what should be done? I'm not sure if they understand resource room and how you identify. So if you
It
could
was not, I
elaborate
mean,
on
I don't know
that.
whether in their generation, maybe, but in our generation, everybody got included.
Correct.
And there was ones who could not participate were backbenchers.
No, in my school, it was like she was supposed to sit in the first bench, and it was being told to each and every student of our class to help her out in studying, make learning very easily to her, because means what she's not able to grab things from teachers, a student can make it more easier for her into little things at once.
Brilliant. Must congratulate you for your school also. That's perfect, ideal example of inclusion. Where you have a child with learning challenges, but he's made to sit in front, and they've created a buddy system where his partner or his friend helps him with his studies. And they also make text matter easier for him, so in point form or something, where he can recall and reproduce easily. So that's a classic example of inclusive education.
Perfect. So what is it, Didi? If you can tell us what the school system adapts, because most of these schools now have special educators, and what is the kind of work they do. If you could, kind
So
of
yes,
elaborate.
as far as RTE is concerned, as 2009 RTE which was passed, all children have to be in mainstream schools. No school can refuse admission. And there has to be a special educator after every 8 children with disabilities. So from what I see as from a external view is they have special educators, but not as many as required, because their counts are only on the number of visible disabilities. Where actually when you go and count the number of children with learning challenges, the numbers would be much higher. That's one. Secondly, the children with learning challenges, or there are some children who are on the borderline of autistic traits. Now, autism, like I mentioned earlier, is a communication disorder. For example, if I'm giving a particular instruction, like everybody pick up a pen and write, like initially I started with a writing exercise. But if Akshata had a learning disorder, everybody would be writing and she would not be writing. Because she does not understand that the general instruction which was given, that includes me. So she has to be given a very specific instruction that Akshata, pick up the pen and write. Children also need a lot of occupational therapy. They have got sensory dysfunctions. They need communication, speech and language therapies. But the RTE doesn't talk about those aspects. The RTE speaks only about a special educator. Counseling. Counselors are extremely important, because what is happening in the house impacts the child in school. And you will see it as a behavior. He's aggressive, he's hitting children, he's not sitting in one place, he wants to get up and run around. It may be nothing to do with the school, nothing to do with the child. It's something that's happening in the house which is impacting the child in school. So what the schools really need is to have a resource cell. They do have a resource cell, but their cell includes only an educator and a counselor at times. They don't have social workers who can go into the house and do family counselings. They don't have occupational therapists who can do sensitization, desensitization, provide sensory integration dysfunction therapies, which is SI. So all these need to come, but I must say, compared from where we began, like when I started my career in 1992, from there to now, there's been a sea change. There's been a complete sea change, but I wouldn't say we've reached it, because special inclusive education is happening. Not as effectively as it should, but it is happening. But what happens to children after they finish education? What is happening on the front of inclusive, open employment? You finished your SP, you finished your graduation, you finished your BMM, BSc, yeah, oh, whatever. Are you able to get a job? Are we? Are we ready to take in people with disabilities? Are we ready to employ them? Are we able to give them a salary that will make them feel like contributing members of the society and being independent? So Adapt in his journey right now is fighting for inclusive employment, where we are into corporate sensitization, where I think the Secretariat Foundation and ICS can take this forward and create these sensitization programs for the corporates that you are connecting with.
I think sir has a question. Kataria sir, you've raised your hand.
Yeah. Thank you, Sangeeta ji. It was very lively, and you covered it in a very holistic approach to the disability, and I do highly appreciate. And my question was, of course, there were 2, 3 questions were there, but I will focus on the education. In education, unfortunately, we have been talking this almost, I have been hearing this almost 3 decades.
Yes.
But the progress has been done very little. Because
Very
if you
true.
see the today schools, they don't have facility, ramps, or there is a special toilet for those disabled people. There's a lacking. Plus, as a resource is also not available, special people who can deal with them. So that's also which you have already focused in your last means conversation.
So that's what
That
the
was there.
policy. The policy is
Yeah.
in place, but implementation is not effective.
No, but again, if you
There's a
see,
gap between the policy and implementation.
yeah, if you see, we have all policy in place, we have all the requirements, guidelines, everything is available. But unfortunately, it is the society who is lukewarm response. They,
Absolutely.
even the family members, they don't
I
accept
agree
this,
totally.
and they
Totally
don't
on,
accept
you're
this
absolutely
disability.
right, Dr. Kataria. It's the awareness and acceptance which is not coming.
Yeah. And I say our foundation, Kataria Foundation, we are committed. I think we can join hand with Sanidhanam, with you, and yeah, we can take forward this program. I think Sumit will agree on this. We can
I'd like
increase the
to
awareness.
add, sir.
I am available 24/7. You just tell me and I'll be there.
So I'd like to add one point. Although there has been a change, sir, lekin kya hai, as individuals, it is up to all these 55 people, including me, listening. When we design a home, we never design a home thinking that ramp chahiye, koi disabled आदमी कैसे ऊपर चढ़ेगा. We do not have those concepts. एक wheelchair जो 24 इंच चौड़ा होता है, मेरे बाथरूम का दरवाजा 21 का है, वो wheelchair अंदर जाता नहीं है. So I do not design typically keeping in mind unless I have a disorder in the family. So I design according to him. And obviously, because the proportion is low and God keep it low, because of that reason, I think individual awareness बहुत जरूरी है. I was
And that is why
surprised.
if
I don't know.
today-
You've seen this movie Friday Night Plan? Have you all seen this movie Friday Night Plan? It's a new movie on OTT, and I was pleasantly surprised that the one of the two lead characters, Juhi's two sons, one of them is a perpetual visitor to a counselor within a school. So he is shown waiting outside the counselor's room, and it's shown in a movie. So I think there is that stigmatic approach. We have made resource rooms in school, but do we actually visit them the way we visit libraries even today? I don't think so.
We don't.
Teachers in school identify that this is a resource room child. The child doesn't identify himself that I need counseling, I need to meet someone. Would you throw light on that? How does it work?
It doesn't, but it has to be identified by the teacher and the child needs to be counseled. And the counseling is not for child counseling, it has to be more of play therapy. Because if a child is small, he doesn't understand what you mean by counseling. So when you're counseling a child, it has to be through art, through play. There are many forms of counseling. But like you rightly said, it is the people who need to understand. So these 56 people, participants that we see here, if these 56 go home and talk to their respective family and talk to 10 people, so we have that many number of people sensitized.
Correct.
So it is the onus on each one of us. It is not S.J. Kataria, Dr. Kataria's responsibility or Sumit Kataria's or Sangeeta Jagtiani's responsibility. It is each one of us. If you're hearing me today, I would request you to at least go and talk to 5 people when you go back home. That this is something that we heard. And like Sumit said, I mean, we don't think because we don't have disability in our houses. I have experienced this myself. I had to shift houses towards the end of last year for the reason of accessibility. My house was not accessible to a person with disability. And I had to move house because I had to encounter disability and I was not able to move around in the house. So you will start thinking about disability only when you are hit with disability. And like I said, disability can be congenital, it could be by accident. Why wait for that day when you will encounter disability and then you will start wondering now what to do? बाथरूम का दरवाजा छोटा है, व्हीलचेयर अंदर जा नहीं रही है, घर पे कैसे आएगा, दरवाजा बराबर खुल नहीं रहा है. Why are we waiting for that day? Let's begin now. Let's begin today. Even a small drop in the ocean matters. So let's be that drop and make an ocean. That's all I would want to end with. And think about inclusive education. Think about inclusive employment. And every time you look at your colleague next time and who's not performed the way you wanted him to perform, think what? Did you not give the instruction properly? Were you not clear in giving the instruction? Like when I started my career as a special educator, the first thing my teacher taught me, Mrs. Banerjee was my teacher. The first thing that she taught me was, you teach, he doesn't learn, you change your method of teaching. You teach, he doesn't learn, you again change your method of teaching. He doesn't learn, you keep changing till you have exhausted all your methods. Then you come to me and tell me, ma'am, I tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He is not able to learn, probably there is some problem. Because he cannot change his style. You, who's giving the instruction, have to keep modifying your instruction till you understand. So starting from now, when you look at your colleague, think differently.
Yeah, one more thing which I wanted to share, which was cropping in my mind, which Sumit sir has also touched a little bit on that one. Now, we have been talking about disability, and if you see today, we are at the tip of the iceberg. This problem is very large, very large. Especially, we are not focusing disability with the senior citizen. The aging process goes, we lose our hearing, our reaction to the things. We have partial loss of eyesight, even our physical handicap. We are not able to move. There are a lot of things also.
Yeah, there is schizophrenia, there is so many Alzheimer's, all age-related.
Alzheimer's, yeah, all these things. Even the disability, if you see, more and more cancer patients are coming. They are also becoming disabled. How we are going to deal with that? I think we have
children have cancer, and those children are facing similar learning challenges.
Yeah, we have also in audience Professor Sudesh Sharma. I think he has also a lot of experience from the education center, so he can help us. Are you there, Mr. Sudesh Sharma?
He's there. He's muted and he was off.
Yeah,
बट सर
we
इनके
can.
साथ ऐसा भी प्रॉब्लम है ना सर कि हमारा आउटलुक ही अलग है ना. व्हेन आई एम स्टैंडिंग फॉर टेकिंग अ बस और फॉर अ रिक्शा, आई डू नॉट प्रायोरिटाइज कि वो एक बाजू में एक और ओल्ड आदमी है जो खड़ा है, उसे रिक्शा पहले दे दूं, मैं दूसरा रुक जाऊं. So that doesn't occur to me. So I think as a society, we all need to respect that. We need to respect age. We need to have more empathy. अभी एम्पथी समय के पॉसिटी की वजह से सब में कम होती जा रही है. तो कहीं
एम्पैथी को कॉन्शियसली अंदर डालनी पड़ेगी. It doesn't come
करेक्ट
automatically.
एम्पथी का एक तड़का हमको साथ में एक चम्मच सुबह भर के ना, लाइक प्रोटीन शेक लेते हैं ना, वैसे एम्पथी का एक चम्मच लेके घर से निकलना चाहिए. सो एवरी टाइम वी आर रशिंग टू गेट इनटू अ बस, वेटिंग फॉर अ रिक्शा, we should look आजू बाजू, is there an old man who needs that rickshaw or who needs to get into the bus before me? I think the world
But
will become a different place.
yeah, Sumit sir, that attitude has to change. We have to
Attitudes have to
cultivate that
change.
culture.
Absolutely.
If you see,
Attitudes, perception, vision,
Sir,
all.
it is sir,
we
अभी वो
Indians, if we are abroad, overseas, I have seen in Dubai, they give priority to the senior citizen for sitting in the
absolutely sir.
metros and all.
सर
They give
जीब्रा,
them, okay.
दुबई कौन से भी रोड पे चले जाओ सर, आप जीब्रा पे खड़े हो, he will stop the car, he will first let the passerby go, then I've seen this
Yeah,
in Sri Lanka also. Forget Dubai, Sri Lanka, हमारे से छोटा इकोनॉमी, I've seen this there also. So it's about culture सर. तो I think ऐसे सेशंस हम रेगुलर करते रहे, रेगुलर हम सुनते रहेंगे कि एम्पथी बढ़ाओ, रोज सुबह निकलेंगे, एम्पथी लेके निकलेंगे, तो चेंज आएगा सर. आज क्या है, हम अनअवेयर होके इतनी दौड़ धूप में वी आर जस्ट रनिंग. I think we should sit back, let the elders go ahead first, so it'll that things will change, I think.
sure, sure. I think you should bring also this issue under your presentation, our society attitude towards the handicapped, towards the disabled
Yeah, she
person.
touched on
So I
it.
think
Because
the next, if you
psychology,
can, I can talk to
psychological,
Neenu, and it will make a lot of difference if you have a session by Neenu Kevlani. Because that will be like, hearing from a person with disability, which will create a larger impact. Because they've heard a professional speaking, but hearing a person with disability speak and share their attitudes, their views about the society, outside world.
Correct. That will be a very interesting session. You should plan one. I think it'll be a
Yeah,
very,
so
very
you let
interesting.
me know. I will speak to her and let her get some tentative dates from Neenu. And she will take the session, and I can be a co-host with her.
It'll be nice.
So
It'll be very
that
nice.
will, I'll be able to connect her session with what I have spoken today.
I think Sharma ji is texted, so I think he should be able to put in a few words. Sharma ji. Chali, I think he's not able to unmute. Over to you, Akshata. Thank you so much. If there are any last questions before ma'am wraps up, if there are any few questions, you can put it on the chat box, unmute, ask anything that you wish to know. Please feel free. No, over to you, Akshata. Thank you, ma'am. Amazing session, lot of learning, lot of insight. Hopefully, our
So,
outlook.
everybody, please don't forget to go home and talk to 10 people as a part of your homework.
Yes, Akshata.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for making us understand about everything about the disability etiquettes and all. So we have a next section on 30th of September 2023. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS and USHAS, excellence in education management. ISO is made easy in various languages such as Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu and Hindi. For reading any of the above books, please contact Ms. Sushma Kindalkar. Her email ID and contact number is shared to you. Feedback forms are available. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give your feedback. Your feedbacks are very valuable to us. Thank you for being a part of the Sadgun Sang. On behalf of the Sadgun Sang team, I'll be officially closing out the section. Thank you so much, everyone.